PayPal will allow users to buy cryptocurrencies and to make purchases with them on its platform. Also, the US government is going after Google for hurting competition by monopolizing the search engine market. Snap had its best week in a long time, and we have to say goodbye to Quibi just 6 months after launching. Also, there are so many political ads betting right now on YouTube ads that the platform ran out of space for showing them. And we are going to be discussing about how companies are leveraging on users' data and what the future looks like for them. All of this and more on the third episode of the Not Your Marketer podcast. Stick around. Hey guys, I'm Not Your Marketer, Alberto Limpira, aka Limpy. Welcome to episode 3 of the Not Your Marketer podcast. Thank you for joining me as I run through some of the most relevant news about marketing, business, and tech. This show is launched every other week. If you like it, please make sure to subscribe. And if you're kind enough and leave a review on your podcast streaming platform, I appreciate it a lot, okay? So let's dig into the headlines. PayPal is betting on crypto by allowing its US-based accounts to buy and sell cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. They'll be able to be purchased on the platform. According to Reuters, payments made through or to merchants with cryptocurrency will be settled using fiat currencies like the US dollar. So they will not receive payments in virtual coins. PayPal has over 346 million active accounts worldwide and processed almost 230 billion US dollars in payments in the second quarter of 2020, quoting Reuters. So the virtual coins are going to be stored on PayPal's digital wallet. PayPal is going to be competing with other alternatives in front of cryptocurrency digital wallets. So why is this important for us? PayPal is used for many businesses, both online and offline, as their go-to payment gateway. So this will open many doors for merchants, and it's yet to be seen how marketers can leverage on this. Many central banks are also working and launching their own cryptocurrencies. The Bahamas have just launched what they call the Sand coin, which is going to be their own official cryptocurrency. And governments in Europe and Asia are also, have revealed their intention of doing likewise. So this is a huge push on the use of cryptocurrencies and how is, pulling it out of the shadows of a select number of users and putting it in the right light of the online commerce scene. So we have to wait and see how this turns out. But just by giving the PayPal's user base the chance and the opportunity to use cryptocurrencies for not only for doing an exchange in the crypto world, but also to make purchases with real life merchants, that will be pretty interesting. This week, the US government announced an antitrust lawsuit against Google for violating anti-monopoly laws. So the lawsuit states that long gone are the days when Google was a thriving startup that wanted to serve its user with a better solution to finding things online. So right now, Google controls over 80% of the search channel in the US alone. And the US government argues that this makes it very difficult for competitors to fight against them and ultimately makes the prices rise as the offer is limited. They are talking about the ad side of the business of Google, obviously. So according to the Wall Street Journal, Alphabet, which is Google parent company, pays Apple over or around 10 billion US dollars per year to funnel in search traffic by being the default search engine on Safari, the web browser owned by Apple and embedded in all the Apple devices. Almost 50% of the traffic to Google came through Apple devices in 2019, according to CNET. So this is obviously something that it's it's crucial for Google to be in on Apple devices and to I mean to being the default search engine there. Also has paid over 1 billion US dollars to US carriers. So what the lawsuit states is that Google keep paying because they have a lot of money, obviously, to maintain its position as the go-to search engine right now. So more than half of Google's revenue comes from its search business, and this could end up disrupting the way Alphabet handles it. So on the other hand, Google says that nobody is forced to use them or use the search engine, and that people chooses to use them because they are better than the competitors. And it's not a lack of competition or alternative what it's driving people to use them. So why is this important? So Google has over 86% of the worldwide search engine market share. Okay, the closest competitor as of July 2020 is Bing with 6.43%, Baidu with 0.68%, and Yandex with 0.63%. Okay, all these according to Statista. So we're talking about a real monolithic giant here, right? So, I mean, they can define what gets discovered and what not across the world without any regulation or with little regulation at the very least. So for marketers, Google has defined the digital strategy from search engine optimization, like I don't know, like the adaptation of technologies to make your website rank higher. They use or dismiss of several different practices so that they can, that they define beneficial or not for users. And they also define pretty much the form and the look and feel and how you have to deal with the PPC, pay per click, on search and display advertising online in the whole world. So we are talking here about something. This lawsuit is going to take a long time, but this news could have a huge impact on how digital marketing strategies are shaped in the future. The thing here is that, as I mentioned, this could take years. Microsoft case, which was the most prominent case in the past in the terms of antitrust by the US government, took over a decade to be settled. So one takeaway from this for us marketers is something that I always keep telling my students in class. When you think about strategic marketing, especially when it's online, you don't have to define your strategy thinking about Facebook or Google or TikTok's algorithm and requirements. No, you have to think about your audience as human beings. And how would you communicate, approach, and deal in a more human way? That will always give you an advantage and will make it future proof no matter what. After doing that, you can keep in mind all the specific requirements and considerations that are usually technical and not methodological from each of those platforms. So we will have to wait and see how this shapes up in the future. Another news is that Snap had a great week. They reported a jump in daily average users or DAUs of almost 20%. So they increased nearly 4% since July, and that made it a 19% growth year over year. Now it has around 249 million active daily users. And according to CNBC, Snap's CEO, Evan Spiegel, said that AR adoption has been happening faster than they expected. So Snapchat took advantage also of the hate for profit boycott campaign that was led by almost 1,000 advertisers on Facebook ads to work with brands that wanted to partner with companies that, quote unquote, share the same values. At the end of the year, Snapchat is also expecting a growth of at least 47% year on year. And it's optimistic about the strength of the momentum they have with their advertisement partners, quoting CNBC. So Snapchat has also increased 100 or has seen an increase of 150% year on year DAUs on India. or in the Indian market. According to the Economic Times, they have bet heavily on new original series and games for the local market. The company is betting on local experiences to engage with Indians as they boost the mobile first shows and mobile games, said the Economic Times. So, why is this important? You know that Snapchat has been around for quite a long time now, and I believe we're still yet to see uh, the unleash of its true potential. So India is a massive market, okay? And if Snap gets to successfully prove its strategy there, that could make the company one get a flow of cash to them that could finance a stronger and more aggressive take on other markets. And they can also replicate a success recipe that can help them to engage with new users and to rescue some of them that have abandoned the platform, especially in Europe and Asia. So for marketers, this is increasingly interesting as Snapchat's nature of content is radically different from other platforms, even with IG Stories and IGTV and etc. This could set a new path for brands to create engaging content to win their audience attention. And we will have to wait and see how this turns out. But going to the next news, to the next headline, it's time to wave Quibi goodbye. And Quibi, I don't know if you remember Quibi launched 6 months ago, roughly, and it was a platform, video streaming platform that created premium short content type of videos for being consumed while on the go on mobile phones. So they seem to promise. I mean, they promised to enter a new era of short form premium content, but things didn't turn out as expected. So the company announced that they were shutting down its service due to lack of interest in the public. The COVID pandemic may have played a role in Quibi's failure, but also a crowded marketplace with big names like Disney, HBO, NBC, and more getting into the video streaming scene could have also make it more difficult for them. So the company says that maybe it's a combination of both. So why is this important? So many people, me included, I mean, we were happy about to see what would come from Quibi's launch, because they bet, or yeah, they're bet on this new way of creating just content for for thinking about mobile first is one of the things that we haven't yet nailed in the digital marketing area. So especially, I mean, it was an interesting experiment, and this is something that, I mean, as I mentioned, it has been very hard to capitalize due to the excessive offer of content online right now. So we have to see how other companies try to take over on what Quibi was trying to do. We have an approach, I mean, with Snapchat, Facebook, and YouTube. They're working with some content creators. But the thing here with Quibi is that they partner with actual production company. I mean, this was like an old style way of launching a video streaming platform, right? Maybe Snapchat is working with that a little bit more, but Facebook and YouTube, they're partnering more with independent content creator. I mean, you have the best and worst, or pros and cons for each one of those. But we will have to wait and see, and hopefully to see a comeback of someone with an idea that is going to be similar to what Quibi wanted to do in the near future. And last but not least, in terms of the headlines that we're going to cover in this episode, so there are so many advertisers betting on political ads on YouTube in the US that the platform ran out of space for showing them all. So according to Bloomberg, I mean, they compare this what happening right now with the political with advertisers betting for political ads with what happens with Black Friday and the Cyber Monday sales. So the shortage of ad space has made the cost of these ads to raise sometimes even double in the past weeks, and this has made that companies with limited campaigns with limited budgets to look for alternative of video marketing or video advertisement platforms like Hulu and Roku. All this happens at the same time as YouTube tries to fight misinformation and doubles down on ad review for political campaigns. So the growth of YouTube, especially as a TV set or for quarters, makes it more appealing for advertisers as it offers better segmentation and, of course, less expensive cost. So, why is this important? So, marketers are used to. We are used to these kind of situations, right? So we have a demand that overwhelms the offer for the ad space available specific on a specific platform. So this can happen during sports events, TV show premieres or finales, election campaigns. I mean, you name it. So the thing here is that there are some strategies like targeting a niche audience in a very specific location. These could be solutions to circumvent these peaks on demand, especially if you're on a tight budget. I always do this with my clients, even when the budget is not that limited. Try to set different set of audiences, placement, and locations. So try to mix and play with the segmentation to see which one performs the best. This would be a sort of A/B testing. The only thing is that you have multiple variants at a time, with the only objective or goal to improve the budget performance overall. In situations like this approach will give any advertiser an advantage. And this is something that many of them are applying right now. So this is, just happening. The thing here is that a lot of what is reported is that many advertisers are targeting the same people in the same location because they're trying to win out on swing states, right? So, well, that's it. So, obviously, the offer and demand, when you have a lot of demand and you don't have enough spaces, in this case, ad space for them, prices are going to keep rising and rising. So, you always have to take a look also to alternative for doing your advertising. So, on today's top story, we're going to talk about how companies are using the data from customers for their advantage. Okay. So, there are many brands and companies and many ways they can gather data from users and customers to offer a tailored experience to them, right? So, today I wanted to talk about three ways companies can do that. The first one would be understanding your customer. Okay, so you can gather data to know how your user or customer is using your product or service, what it does with it, what they love, what they miss, etc. You can track the interactions between your brand and them in a way that wasn't feasible 20 or 15 years ago. Like when they go to your website or to your app, if you have one, or any social media interactions. So the thing here is that now you can create profiles, generic profiles that can help you to predict a little bit of how your customers are going to behave, which is the second point I'm going there. It can help you to enrich your product or service. To understand what needs to be improved, to add or remove features depending on the usage or the value that they're adding to the actual offering that you are giving to your customers. And you can even redesign things, right? So a few examples of these are, like Google with their all. They have been one of the most active companies when they test a product or service to get the feedback from users, usually beta testers, to improve the service or to shut it down as it is. So you have, Google Hangouts evolve into Google Meets. Then you had, Google Boss at the beginning, Google Plus, they were killed. You had Google Reader, which was not used enough, so they killed it. They kept improving Google Gmail the first time from the beginning to make it even better and better to keep improving it, but with the users' data. I mean, this is something. And Google search, obviously, Google search is like the main focus of how they use users' data to keep improving how the search engine performs. This, I mean, the second point of this, which is predictive behavior, has a lot to do with this. So, you know, what I mean, you're able right now to know what users do before, during, and after purchasing or using your product. Okay, so that helps you to create a model, and I mean to start modeling on what there is going to be their next move, and that will help you to be always ahead of time, which is really interesting. I mean, you may imagine Amazon does that, but it can also be performed by small and medium sized businesses. Like, I don't know, let's think about an e commerce. If you have an e commerce, you know which products are selling out, and you know how your customers, how the customers pair them with other products or whatever, what can be sold, upsold or cross sold. I mean, with upselling and cross selling, you know how you can mix and match. You know, if there are any key dates. I mean, let's imagine, I don't know, Valentine's Day or Christmas or whatever. So you have that kind of information. But if you have an e-commerce, you also have a profile for each of your customers. So you also know if there's a specific date that is important for them. Let's say that maybe you can even know if there's their anniversary with their significant ones, or maybe a birthday or whatever. You can use that to tailor an exclusive or more personalized experience for them, both online or even through email marketing. So you can also optimize the conversions. Once you know the purchase path, and you create this model with the vast majority of your customers are following, you can know what's bothering other users to not complete that conversion and to keep improving that. Okay. And the third point here is engage with customers and their data. So whenever you, as a brand, has as much data as right now you can have from your customers, you may use it to be more human in your relationship with them. Right. So I don't know, a few examples of that is Spotify always use this Wrapped campaign with random facts about its platform used by subscribers. There's a few examples. Like there was one billboard that stated, "Dear person who played Sorry 42 times on Valentine's Day, what did you do?" So these kind of billboards help you to connect a little bit more with your audience. And users are not going to be freaked out with the fact that obviously you know what is being played or not in each one of your subscribers' devices. I cannot wait to see what they're going to come up with for the 2020 campaign, as this year has been particularly tough on everybody. Google also does something like this. They have this campaign called Year in Search, where, well, it's just like a showcase. Obviously, as I mentioned, 86% of the global market share of search engine. Obviously, they know what the world searches every year. So these kind of things, it could be a communication strategy, but at the end of the day, it can help to engage even more with your customers. So Sephora also, Sephora, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is one of the all-stars in email marketing. They use the data. They use the data from frequent customers profile to tailor their communication and promotions through email marketing. So these lead to high open rates and to high conversion and engagement rates for those marketing actions. And this is the thing. You have to use the data in your benefit, but now more than ever, managing customers' data is a tricky thing. Okay, so I always tell my students that for you to ask potential customers for their data, you have to make the case about how this is going to be useful for them. I mean, what's the exchange? What are they going to get in exchange for giving away that data? No, so a brand needs to give enough value in exchange for that. In 2020, that value cannot be represented by money, although there are a few people lobbying for that. So you have to be creative enough to make sure that the other part feels the exchange is just and fair. So I truly believe that we can live in a world where brands can be given personal data without compromising the customer's safety or privacy. But it all starts with us as marketers respecting our users' data as our own. This brings me to my reflections for this episode. So we have talked about data, Google, and the first reflection slash question would be thinking about how much Google knows about all of us and how this information could be turned against us. Do you believe that there should be more government regulations for tech giants like Google, Facebook, Apple, etc.? And if so, what happens if governments are going to regulate those companies? What would happen, or what could happen, in countries where governments do not have the well-being of their citizens as their priority? I don't know, with totalitarian regimes and so forth. I mean, this is a very gray-ish area where you have to think about the repercussions of who has the power. Obviously, the power should not rely only on one side of the scale, because it's not going to be probably is not going to be fair enough. I mean, I you may think different, but I believe that companies, obviously, they have, I mean, like Google, Facebook, they have their own interests in hands, but they have to also bet for having especially in 2020, having the well-being of their users as a priority. Because if the user do not feel like it's being considered or is taken care of, they might, well, just shutting the door, logging out, deleting an account, and go somewhere else. The thing here is that we have to deal with, especially with young people. I mean, with the younger spectrum of the user base, which is more susceptible of misinformation, of data misusage, and so forth. Okay, so I mean, I know this is something that it's open for a huge and long debate, but I just wanted to give or leave these two reflections. So let me know what you think. Please comment on any of the platforms where you watch or listen to this podcast. I would love to hear your comments. Also, you can send any message on social media at Alberto Limpira or at Not Your Marketer. Those are the user handles for on any social platform. So on next episode, we're going to talk about how can you earn your place on search engines, just like Google, and what are the latest and the best SEO tactics that small businesses can use from ranking from scratch. Okay, so thanks again for listening. Please, if you like the show, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a review if you listen to the podcast on your favorite podcast provider. That would mean a lot for me. Please be safe, and see you on the next episode of Not Your Marketer. Limpy out.